Alright, so how to actually stick to your habits. Whenever I start a new habit, it tends to go one of three ways. Either I never actually get started, maybe I do it once or twice, but certainly not enough to the point where it actually becomes a habit. Or I start the habit and enjoy doing it for a couple weeks maybe, but end up falling off and don't stick to it long term. Or sometimes I start a new habit, push past the early stages and fully integrate it into my routine, and it simply becomes a part of my everyday life. Of course, that third scenario is ideal, but it's not always that easy. So in this video, I'll go through a few key techniques that I've been using to power through each stage of building a new habit so that it becomes not just a habit, but a part of my lifestyle. Also, we don't want to be those people who, fill up the gyms in January only to stop after a couple weeks and never be seen again until the next year. All right, stage one is all about getting started. And this is arguably the hardest stage of the whole habit building process because it really involves the biggest change, going from 0 to 1, doing absolutely nothing to doing something every single day. In my experience, the best way to push through this initial stage of just getting started is to start small. Like, make the habit as easy as possible to the point where you could do it every single day and it wouldn't be that difficult. So let's say you wanted to get into the habit of working out, but if you're not used to working out regularly, then the thought of doing a full workout every single day or getting in the gym every single day might be kind of intimidating and not seem like something that you could realistically stick to. Maybe if it's like January 1st and you've got that New Year's energy, you'd be able to push through and hit a full workout every day for a few days or maybe a week even. But more likely than not, since it's such a dramatic shift, most people end up falling off before actually building the habit. To counteract this, what we can do is take that bigger habit, let's say it's working out for an entire hour, and break it down into a smaller, easier habit, maybe just a 15-minute workout or a 5-minute workout or even just walking around your neighborhood. The key is that the smaller version of the habit is easy enough to the point where deep down that you can realistically do it every single day without fail. And there's no shame in starting like really small. If a 5-minute workout still seems like too much to you, you could make your intro version of the habit into just putting on your gym clothes every day. When I use this technique of starting with the easier version of a habit, I'll usually find that I actually just end up doing the full habit. So like in that example, if you put your gym clothes on, you might think to yourself, well, I might as well go to the gym. Or if you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, but only work out for 5 minutes, you might end up just staying longer for 15, 30, or maybe even the full hour. Once you're able to stay consistent with an easier version of a habit for maybe a full week, then you can gradually take the training wheels off, ramp up the difficulty, and progress from there. It's also important to define the habit. So what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? And where are you going to do it? So for example, I'm going to take a cold shower in my bathroom at 6 a.m. after I wake up. And this really helps just decrease the friction, make sure that you figure out the logistics of how you're actually going to complete the habit. And if you're starting with an easier version of a habit, that's okay, of course. Just make sure that you clearly define that as well and continue to update the definition as you progress. In this first stage, it's also good to set clear intentions and outline why the habit is important and how it will benefit your life. You could just mindlessly perform the habit each and every day, but if you don't have some overarching reason for doing so, then it'll be that much easier to fall off. Stage 2 is all about staying consistent. We've gotten past the hardest part of getting started and now just need to keep up the momentum. I like to do this by building a routine. So this involves finding the optimal times of day for me to complete each of my habits. Usually this is in the morning time, but it can really depend on the specific habit. I also like to incorporate habit stacking, where basically I either do multiple habits at the same time. So this could be like meditating while outside, so I also get that natural sunlight and fresh air, or I set up my routine to do certain habits back to back. So this could be like waking up at 6 a.m. and then going straight into a cold shower and then doing my meditation or something. And then eventually you can get to the point where your whole daily routine is one giant habit. This not only saves time, but it helps me build consistency. At this stage, accountability can also really help you stay consistent. So this could be, public accountability, where you either announce it on social media or to a group of friends or coworkers that you're going to start doing a certain habit, or you can find an accountability partner. So this is like one other person who frequently checks in with you to make sure that you've done the habit, or better yet, they're also trying to start the same habit so you can keep each other accountable and perform the habit together. I also like tracking the progress of my habits, and you can do this in a few different ways, either with a digital habit tracking app. You could use a physical paper habit tracker, or I've been just using a Google Sheet to track all my kind of health stats and habits all on one page. Or I've also heard, for people who enjoy visuals, is taking like one jar of marbles or something and then having 2 other cups, one for yes, completing the habit, and one for no. And then every day, if they did the habit, then they'll put 1 marble into the yes jar, or if they didn't, they'll put 1 into the no jar. I've never done that, but seems like a cool idea. And finally, at this stage, I like to define potential points of failure and create a system for overcoming those situations. So let's say you're trying to build a habit of eating healthy or improving your nutrition. A potential point of failure could be maybe when you go to work and a coworker offers you a donut or something. Think about potential situations like that and what you could possibly do to overcome them. All right, finally, stage 3 is lifestyle integration, and this is where it really all comes together. So after a certain point, it's better to not even refer to these things as habits, because simply by calling it a habit implies that it could be broken at some point. So I like to reframe my mindset to where those certain key habits are just simply non-negotiable and a part of my lifestyle. Brushing your teeth, showering daily, getting dressed in the morning, these could all technically be classified as habits, but they're so integrated into our life, at least I hope they are, that we don't really think of them as habits and they're just simply part of our life. In my opinion, that is the true end goal when it comes to building these habits. At this point, I also like to revisit my overall goals, mindsets, and reasons for starting a particular habit. It's easy to get to the point where we're kind of just mindlessly doing certain habits for the sake of checking the box, which can be good in the initial stages, but it also creates the risk of losing sight of the overall importance and eventually falling off. This is where it could be a great idea to create a document describing in detail the ideal version of yourself who is, doing all of your good habits and achieving all of your goals and how they live their everyday life. I found this to be possibly the best way to actually progress towards your goals in life. Describe everything in detail about this ideal 2.0 version of yourself, especially their daily habits, but you can include things like their character traits, their appearance, their beliefs, mindsets, achievements, and goals. Then start the ultimate habit of reading through this document every day to remind yourself of the person you want to become. Click this video if you want to see what habits I'm focusing on this year. As always, do something today that your future self would thank you for.